Ladies and gentlemen, we call this meeting to order, the Mayor and Board of Commissioners for May the 12th, 2026. Can I get the roll call, please?
Emily Kleiner,
Here.
Frank Dowling,
Here.
Augie Pearson.
Here.
Let the record show you have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Would you mind doing that prayer, Commissioner
Nope.
Kleiner? Thank you.
Father, we thank you for this day and for this town and the responsibilities that you have given us here. We seek you for wisdom and your guidance in every way, for your protection over our first responders, Lord, and that you would bless each family in this town and prosper them in every way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. First on the agenda is the approval of a consent agenda. Town Administrator, do you have that?
Yeah, what you have in front of you is the approval of the April 21st, 26th town meeting video summary and the approval of the May 7th, 2026 town meeting summary, which was the budget hearing. And then the list of upcoming town meetings, June 9th, 2026 and July 14th, 2026. And that is contingent upon us not needing to schedule another meeting in June if need be for the budget.
Thank you, Town Administrator. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right, moving forward into citizens' input. Would anyone like to speak this evening? Anyone? All right, moving forward into staff reports. Town Administrator.
All right, the one thing I wanted to cover tonight is the demolition process. There's a couple items that I wanted to cover with that. You see the advertisement that we put in the newspaper. We put it in the newspaper and we've advertised it on our website and through social media at the same time. Juanita, the last I spoke to you, we had like 5 inquiries last week.
I think we're up to 7 or 8.
We've got people trying to get in the meeting downstairs, they can't get in because the door's locked. Sorry.
Yep.
No, thanks
No,
for
thank
letting
you.
us know.
7 or 8.
7 or 8 is what we have. Mayor, would you like me to hold up for a second so those folks can get up?
Please.
Because that's really the
Thank
only
you.
thing I have to talk about, so we'll wait. We unfortunately have old technology on the front door lock system. And,
Well, we were missing the body too. There was supposed to be someone else in the audience as well that I was expecting to be here, but, so
Oh.
maybe then.
yeah. Anybody know any good jokes?
What was Chewbacca's favorite beer?
What?
Old Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's the only joke I know.
Alrighty then. Come on, Frank, you have one.
This is what I get for making you start on time. This is just called bad karma.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
we're good.
So again, for the people live streaming, we had a problem with our front door, and there were a couple folks that sent text messages saying they're trying to get in and the door was locked, so we're just holding the meeting up for them to be able to get up here.
Oh, by the way, if you live in town and you want the upgrade on the Armstrong, I got a phone number you can call. It's free.
Got mine today.
You got yours today?
Yep.
I'm getting mine Thursday.
Worked very, very, efficiently as soon as it was done.
Good.
All right, Town Administrator, go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll pick up the meeting again. We wanted to allow the folks at the front door to be able to get up here. So what I wanted to go over was the invitation to bid for the 3 properties along Main Street. We've advertised that at a variety of different places. As Juanita just said, we've received about 7 inquiries to get our bid specifications. That's a good thing. Whenever you do a bid, you have, it's a better pool, so to speak, when you have multiple people applying. We've had, just to give you an idea, we've had $1, $2, $3 million projects in the past where we've been lucky to get 1 RFP on it. And so that's not a really good feeling, because you got to go ahead with the project and you don't know necessarily whether or not you're getting a good price on it. So getting 7 is very
Yeah, that's good.
encouraging. So the properties in question are 16 Main Street, 13 Cherry Street, and 19 Cherry Street. And we're looking for someone to come in and put all the security fencing around it. We're taking care of cutting off utilities and getting the property stabilized from that standpoint. Our contractor will come in and they will demo the property, all 3. We're sort of anticipating that they'll probably start with the Jensen property on Cherry Street, because that will give us the ability to pull down the property at 16 Main Street from behind. And that is a huge financial savings. Because if you've ever walked in the city of Baltimore or something like that, and you see folks doing demolition, they've got to have barriers out on the sidewalks, they got to have traffic control, because they have to set their cranes and everything up out in the street. In this particular case, because we can take the property down on Cherry Street, although we still have to protect the sidewalk in front of it, the building for the most part can be pulled down from behind. And so that'll save us a significant amount of money. We are having a pre-bid meeting tomorrow here in this room at 2 p.m. For the folks out there live streaming, the reason why you do a pre-bid meeting is just to give potential contractors or interested parties the opportunity to basically come in and say, I see this written here, what exactly are you looking for? What does this mean? Would you accept an alternative to that? So let's segue into that. It's not uncommon in a project like this to have change orders or bid addendums, where somebody might read a bid spec and say, hey, there's a better way to do this, would you be open to it? And whenever somebody asks a question of us, we will send an email back to everyone who has requested a bid package, so that we can let them know, here is a question that was asked, and here's what the response is, and yes, we're going to accept that alternative, or no, whatever. Because pre-bid meetings are not mandatory meetings, they are voluntary. So we want to, the goal here is to be as fair and equitable across the board as you can be. And then, even though we have a pre-bid meeting tomorrow, we will accept questions up until May 20th. So people, can, as they're walking down the street and, there's a big tree in the property and they want to know how the big tree is going to be handled. If the bid specs don't spell that out, they can request that information, and then we'll give everybody an equal footing in the bid process by telling everybody what the question is and how we answered it.
Hey, Cal,
Yeah.
do they get a walkthrough as part of the pre-bid meeting, or is it just an inside meeting?
It could be either or. We'll probably ask tomorrow if anybody wants to walk around the property. They're free to walk around the property. And maybe if they ask us particular types of questions, we might say, hey, let's walk over there
Sure.
and take a look at it. The bids will be due on Monday, June 1st, 2026 at 2 p.m. And we'll take about a week or two to review these bids and make an award. And then we're hoping to start the demolition the week of June 22nd. That's what we're trying to coordinate, is that week. The bidders have 75 consecutive calendar days to complete the project. I don't think it's gonna take that long. A request for action I was gonna ask of you folks. Would, our procurement procedures do not necessarily require the elected body to approve all bids and proposals that come in. But on these particular things, sometimes it just feels a little bit better, you know, to at least give you guys the opportunity. However, the timing of our meeting is not going to work. And if we want to hit the ground running on June 22nd, then we can't wait till June 14th for our next, or whatever that is, whatever the next meeting is, to do that. So I was gonna ask if the elected body was okay with us, the town attorney, myself, and the engineer reviewing all the bid specs and making that award to the most qualified bidder. Are you guys fine?
I'm good with that.
Calvin, we've done that in the past.
Yes, yeah. And we have, and sometimes I like to come to you with some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary, and tearing down 3 buildings in the downtown area is a little out of the ordinary.
Cal, the one thing that I would add, just so the elected body knows, as of right now, that date is tentative based upon DHCD's schedule. The secretary will be coming up, obviously, because they've invested a significant amount of money into the project. And we're gonna plan a ceremony to mark the occasion. In addition, there will be fencing that goes around after the demo that will protect the neighboring properties as far as setting a boundary,
Right.
so.
So the other thing that I wanted to do, and this is sort of part of our educational series we always try to do, Behind the Municipal Curtain, and that's, we always try to pull the curtain back to let people know what happens behind the scenes. And the town applied for these grant monies probably about maybe 16 to 18 months ago. And I know that people have gotten frustrated because as we have been notified that we're gonna get the money, that doesn't mean that the state sends you a check the next day. And so we have been waiting for their procurement process to go through for us to be able to do that. And we really didn't get notification to be able to move forward. And even with that, we had to maybe sort of get the state to be a little bit creative in the thought process, because whenever you get a grant, not all grants, think of it this way, when you're doing big projects, you have to pay somebody to do all the legwork to figure it out what it is you want to do. So for instance, for us to put this grant application together, we probably spent, I'm gonna say maybe $10,000 that's not reimbursable under the grant program. Because in order for me to put the grant together, I have to engage the engineer to take a look at the property and sort of anticipate what might be required of it, stormwater management. And then we gotta put all that together in a packet and send it to the state for them to say, yeah, that looks good. So you spend about $10,000 on this particular project and you don't get reimbursed for that. And even though they tell you you're gonna get the money, you can't start incurring expense until a drop dead date. And in this particular case, our drop dead date was June 1st. And so rushing to get it all done and award the bid back in March and April sounds good, but we would not qualify for reimbursement of the funds because they didn't occur. So when people get frustrated about why it's taking so long, it's, in many cases, it's beyond our control because we have to deal with the funding agencies. And that's true with, I'm gonna say maybe close to $2 million alone of grant monies that we have been awarded in the last year, but we can't do anything until you reach those magic deadlines. With that, let me segue into, and I've talked about this a lot.
Calvin, can I ask
Yeah.
one question here?
Sure.
I don't know what your bid looked like, but they are going to leave that with a finished surface that is level with the existing sidewalk?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it will not be pavement. It'll
No,
be,
no.
it'll probably be crush and run kind of thing.
No, I just
Yes.
didn't want them to leave where the basement, where they excavated the basement. Wanted to make sure those basements were filled.
Yeah, they all have to be filled per engineering guidelines and
Gotcha.
compacted.
Okay.
Because we want to be able to have, it might be another 2 years or so before we're able to get the funds to build a parking lot there. We have to deal with stormwater management. So in the meantime, we want to have a crush and run surface there so that we can start accommodating parking needs for our businesses in the future. So yes, it'll all be level grade. Now, I think it's also important to throw out there that one of the reasons why we have to put the fencing up is we can't just have people picking how they want to enter this vacant
Lot,
piece of
yeah.
land. In other words, you're not going to be able to drive down Main Street and say, hey, let me make a left and jump the curb on Main Street to go to the parking lot. So we have to coordinate that off. And so to be clear, the access to that parking lot will most likely be around on Cherry Street, probably right in the driveway where the Jensen property is now, to be able to drive right up into there. So the other thing I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on, and there's a lot of reasons to be very excited in the town of Rising Sun, and although it's the same, we're getting the funding, but it takes time for all the ink on the agreements to be dried. We did get a $1 million grant to build our own solar panel array, and we could do it in 1 or 2 places. We could do it down at the wastewater treatment plant, or we could do it over at Plumpton Park Zoo, and let me set that to a side for a second. For years, as some of the elected body know, I have been approached so many times about third-party vendors. The same when they come to your house and say, hey, put solar panels on your house. They want to do that for the local municipality. And over the years, we've had a handful of them that have come in and said, we'll put solar panels in around your wastewater treatment plant, and we can reduce your electrical footprint by $12,000. Well, all they're really doing is paying us a lease on the land for $1,000 a month. And as Augie and Travis remember, they would get so mad at me because I kept saying all the time, those solar panel companies make their money by selling what are called racks. And that's sort of an acronym for credits that are worth value of how much green energy is pumped back into the electrical grid. And you can sell those racks to other companies. That's why when a solar panel company comes in and gives you this great deal to put solar panels on your roof, the reason why they're doing that is because they own the rack credits. And those rack credits can be very lucrative. And so I've never been able to get a solar panel company to give us at least a portion of those rack credits, which meant they were telling me, basically, give up all the land around our sewer plant to put solar panels on it, and they would pay us $1,000 a month. We'd get $12,000, but more importantly, if we ever have issues with our treatment plant, which we've had in the past, we would lose all the available land we have to do something, whether it's spray irrigation, build a bigger plant, whatever it is, we would lose that. And if they're only giving us $1,000 a month, we can sell that to an Amish farmer and never give up our land rights and just let an Amish farmer plant corn or whatever there. So we've always held our ground. The most recent company that came in, though, had said that the law had been changed, and now we could apply for a grant through the federal government to get and own our own solar panel array. So that means we're going to own the racks, and we will generate enough electricity to eliminate all the electricity needs of the town government, not the town. It's not a community solar panel system. It's specific for the town. So right now we're paying about $115,000 a year in electric bills. That will all go away. Plus we get about $50,000 a year of rack credits back. So it's like $150 some odd $1,000 windfall to the town, but that doesn't work unless we get the grant. So we applied for a grant, we got the $1 million grant. In addition to that, one of the things the Trump administration did recently was, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I sort of got the feeling that the Trump administration is not as enamored with green energy as other folks may or may not be. But one of the things they did do was change the IRS laws that although they want to ratchet that funding out over a period of time, or I think they want to phase it out over a 5-year period, they changed the IRS regulations. And what I mean by that is if Juanita is a private citizen and she got this grant, and the grant does not cover the full cost of the solar panels, she can take the remaining, a percentage of the remaining amount of money that it cost her to have the solar panel built and deduct that against her IRS taxes on it. Or they changed the law to allow local government to do that. And so even though we're tax exempt, we're going to receive about a $600,000 check from the IRS when it's all said and done, on top of the $1 million grant to put these solar panel arrays in there. Now, I said we could do it one or two places. We could do it at the wastewater treatment plant, but again, I don't think it's a good idea for us to give up our footprint for future environmental issues that might happen. It's no secret that we have been trying to build a partnership with the Plumpton Park Zoo, a public-private partnership. So we're in the process of negotiating that out with the zoo, and one of those would be to build this solar panel array on their property, because part of the public-private partnership would be sort of a quasi sort of ownership of that whole enterprise out there. And so we could build the solar panel array there, get all the benefits to it, and also eliminate their electricity footprint at the same time, which takes that organization and allows them to redirect their money into the animal exhibits and the family experience and all that, instead of paying an electric bill. So that's just one of the branches that we're pursuing of building a good relationship with the Plumpton Park Zoo, because again, the Cecil County has a population of what, just under 100,000 or 104,000 people, and the Plumpton Park Zoo gets about 125,000 visitors a year, which tells you how far and wide people are coming to the zoo. So the more we make them successful, the better it is economically for our community, because that's people coming to the community that are then coming back to Rise and Grind and Rising Sun, Sunrise Grill and Lurie's Place. It's bringing disposable income into the community. So you heard me talk about this months ago, where I talked about our goal is to create an economic ecosystem where it all feeds itself. That's just one of the components of it. The other thing, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, is when
And Cal, we'll be mindful of the type of soil and class that we put
yes,
those solar panels on, and
yes,
all of that type of
all,
stuff, 'cause
all
that's something
that
that's
will meet
super
the
sensitive
county's
to folks.
regulations and all of that also. And we're actually contemplating the idea of building a solar panel array that fits over a newly constructed parking lot for them.
Yeah,
So you get a little bit of rain cover, and then it's over a macadam parking lot that they're gonna be
that would be
building.
perfect.
Yeah. That's just gonna require more money. We'll have to try to find more money for that. In the past, I talked about when we had to build a new wastewater treatment plant, the amount of money for our residents was a lot. And we all know that because our sewer rate is very high now. And we were able to, MDE was gracious enough to tell us that we did not have to decommission the lagoon. Meaning the lagoon is a biological process where all the bad stuff comes into the lagoon. It takes a certain amount of time for it to go through a natural process. There is a biological anaerobic process that eats away the bad stuff. The good stuff is injected with oxygen, and then it's allowed to flow out into the stream. That's a lagoon system. When we built our new wastewater treatment plant, it would have been at that time about $1.5 million to decommission the lagoon. So when residents think about the fact that we spent $16 million to build the wastewater treatment plant and our sewer rates are where they are at, just having to pay another 1.5 to decommission the lagoon would have bought that price up. And then we also would have had to build a belt filter press at that time that was like another $1.5 million. So what we were able to do is offload our sludge into the lagoon, because engineering-wise, we were never going to produce enough sludge that natural degradation would not be able to stay ahead of the sludge, so we could use the lagoon for a period of time as basically a holding tank for the lagoon. But that wasn't going to last forever. So at some point in time, we had to decommission the lagoon. 2012 numbers were like $3.5 million to do that. Obviously, they're much higher now. And then you've heard me talk about the EPA's regulations on cleaning up the waterways in the Chesapeake Bay. It's called MS4. It has to do with taking bad stuff out of rainwater, which can be grass clippings, salt that you put on the road, things that businesses dump out on the ground, get into the stormwater. That goes into the streams, affects the aquatic life, which affects the Chesapeake Bay, which in turn affects the economy of Maryland, because the aquatic life takes a beating on it. So there's a thing called an MS4 where we have to reduce what I like to call our nutrient footprint by 20%. Everybody's heard of carbon footprint. I always call it the nutrient footprint, because the EPA has said all the states have to lower their nutrient levels by 20%. They just pass that on to the counties and the towns. And so we have to reduce our nutrient footprint by 20%. And we had to do that by December of 2025. We had a study done back in, I'm going to say 2021, that said it was going to cost $2.75 million at that time to do that. And again, we're in budget season, so I think it's helpful, again, behind the municipal curtain to see what's involved in the decision-making. We collect $1.1 million of real estate tax. So when the feds and the state are telling us we got to spend $2.75 million to do basically an unfunded mandate, where does that come from? It comes from raising the real estate tax, which if you just do the simple math, we would have easily had to double the real estate tax to generate the money in 1 year's time to be able to pay for this unfunded mandate. So what we did back in 2023 under what is called BRIC funding through the federal government, it's done through basically FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association, and we were able to put together a package that said our lagoon, because it now has an underground spring in it, whenever we got a heavy rain, that rain would run across the farmer's field and go into our lagoon and run the risk of the lagoon overflowing. And remember what I said about our sludge, all that bad stuff is being stockpiled in there. So we were able to make an argument to the federal government that this is a potential hazardous material situation and you should give us a grant to fix it. Well, the federal government agreed, and we were one of about 75 applications in the entire country that got funded. And so we got that funding, but when the Trump administration came in January of 2025, they were feeling a certain way about how that money was being allocated, and one of the first things they did was suspend the BRIC funding. So if you remember when I was doing the NPR interviews with NPR, was all about that BRIC funding going away. Well, we got notified about 6 or 7 months ago that the BRIC funding was back in play, and we didn't have to do anything because we had already gotten about 95% approval that we were going to get the money to decommission the lagoon handle the MS4. So we're gonna get funding for the $3 million to deal with the lagoon and the 2.75 million to deal with the MS4. So we didn't have to raise anybody's taxes, we didn't have to raise any more sewer rates. We managed to get a funding application together for them to fund it. So knock on wood, fingers crossed, there will be no hangups, but we're very optimistic that we're gonna get that funding. However, everything I just said to you has grave consequences and price tags for future generations of elected officials and leaders of the community that we didn't want to just rely on the BRIC funding. So we also applied through the Maryland Department of the Environment for the same funding to decommission the lagoon and do the MS4. And then I know everybody has heard the term port barrel. And whenever the federal government, and probably even the state does it too, whenever they do appropriations and stuff like that, different legislators are able to put in their request for additional funding for their projects. Well, the mayor, through his, partnership building with all levels of government, regardless of party affiliation, was able to get us before Senator Brooks and Van Hollen, and we put a package together to them to say, hey, we need to decommission this lagoon. It's a potential hazardous material issue. Can you help us? We got notified on Friday that both senators have validated that request, and it's before the Federal Appropriations Committee to see if it gets appropriated. So we went down 3 different roads to handle a big issue, and hopefully at least one of them come through, and that'll be a significant windfall for the town of Rising Sun. So there's a whole bunch of other grants and things that are in the pipeline that we have. It takes a little bit of time to work them through the system. And we also, as I said before, it's not that we're delaying it, we just have to wait for certain things. So we're just as excited as everybody else for parking and doing these things, but we don't control the purse strings. So I just wanted to throw that out there to clarify that process.
Thanks, Cal.
Okay.
Town Attorney?
Hey, Jay.
He fell asleep.
Hey, Jay.
Sleepy Jay.
I was thinking that.
I can hear you now. You had me on mute.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it time for my report?
Yes,
I
it
tried
is.
to read lips for everything else, so. Okay, we had a busy month because we had a planning commission meeting, which I'm sure the liaison will go into, but that resulted in some follow-up meetings with some developers' attorneys. We have some oncoming meetings this month to deal with the Maple Heights issues and the Knutson property. So things are still moving along, but it's taking a tremendous amount of time to get these projects forward. They're moving forward, but everything is an issue. The latest with the Knutson is that they wanted to divide the property in half with a lot line adjustment, and they wanted our guarantee that we would review it administratively. Of course, we have to review it to see whether we can review it administratively, and so that took some time. So I don't want to sound too negative, but it does take us away from the other business that you'd like us to conduct. A positive note, I reviewed the RFP and contract for the demolition project that Calvin has out there. I understand you have a meeting tomorrow on that. And so that one is ready to go. As soon as you get the bids in, you can pick the best qualified bidder, or Calvin and the engineer can, and you can select it to go right away. And those are the big items that we have. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Jay. Chief?
Well, we have the Sunfest that's coming up on June 6th. It has a parade with it than the actual festival. So be prepared for traffic delays, detours, and things of that nature during that event. It begins at about 8 a.m. and will be over sometime around 5 or 6 in the evening when the breakdown of the event starts to happen. In addition to that, school's back in session. As you saw, today is a nice day. There's been plenty of kids that are now walking to and from the school to some of the businesses around town and down to the playground. So when you come through town, please use caution, please obey the speed limits, and look for kids in the crosswalks. Beyond that, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Chief. Moving forward into my report, it's pretty brief. Chief and I hosted the Commanding General of the Maryland National Guard, my good friend Janine Burkhead, at Rising Sun High School. We met with ROTC students and those interested in a career with the National Guard. It was a great event. We also talked about doing some partnership exercises between the Rising Sun Police Department and the National Guard. We look forward to some of those joint exercises happening hopefully sometime this fall. June 27th, we are hosting the America 250 Parade. It'll be a celebration of America's 250th birthday. We are really excited about that. If you have any questions or are interested in participating, please reach out to Town Hall. The registration form is online. In addition, Calvin, also, I wanted to briefly mention the community building. We're still in works with that. We have another grant that we luckily were able to get this legislative session from the Maryland General Assembly, and that's going to be under DHCD. I believe that one's for $300,000.
Yes.
To go towards the community building. So a lot of grants, a lot of work, a lot of legwork to do, but we are present and we are definitely working hard to bring those funds here based upon relationship building. That concludes my report. Commissioner Dowling.
I just want to welcome the newer businesses to town. Sunny's Toy Box opened up right here in downtown, right across from Town Hall, and Garvin Family Butcher closer to Plumpton Park Zoo a few weeks back, I believe they opened, and look forward to doing some ribbon cuttings in conjunction with the town and the Rising Sun Chamber to welcome them, but encourage residents to support our local businesses.
Thank you, and we look forward to scheduling a ribbon cutting with Sunny's Toy Box. It looks to be, and they're open right now, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to go in, check it out. It's a very cool location. Commissioner Kleiner.
I just have a short report. We met last week to discuss the budget. So if anyone would like to revisit that, it should be on YouTube, right? Like on our website. There was some very interesting information presented there, and some cool updates for the town in the year ahead. And we did not meet yet this month for the Planning Commission, but our next meeting is scheduled for Monday. So that's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Kleiner. Commissioner Pearson.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to the Rising Sun Tigers boys lacrosse
team. Yeah.
for advancing to the quarterfinals of the states, and also to the girls softball team. They advanced also. In fact, they beat Bel Air, which was the #1 seed, 1-0.
Wow.
And the pitcher for Rising Sun threw a no-hitter, which is pretty remarkable
great.
at that level of competition. Now, that being said, Calvin, I have a question to ask.
Sure.
Why does the trash company and well, they're both the same company, right? They come around 5:30 in the morning, but they don't pick anything up. They come back at 7 o'clock and pick it up. Why are they coming through twice?
I'm not aware that they're coming through twice, so we can check that out.
It wasn't a problem during the winter because nobody's windows were really open, but now that windows are open, people are ask me, why aren't they picking it up? And I mean, literally, they do not pick it up. I
Yeah.
watched them the other day, right past my house, go up to the court, turn, and go back out.
That's odd.
Didn't touch
Yeah,
anything.
it's not even like the old days where we did recycling and trash on the same
Yeah.
day, so you could say it was a recycling truck,
No.
not seen,
Right.
yeah,
No.
on separate days.
So,
I'm having them drive by Augie's
Once in
house
my neighborhood.
just to mess with them a little bit.
Maybe they think you're trash,
Well, I got news for you. I'd have bought that years ago when we put out 2 trash cans, okay? When the 6 kids left, we hardly generate anything now. And my wife is a true recycler,
In here,
you know, so, but it just, I can't answer, no.
Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. That concludes our town meeting. You see the upcoming town events, upcoming holidays, trash, recycling, and yard waste. I do want to say, as Commissioner Pearson mentioned, that the state championship will begin at Rising Sun High School tomorrow night at 6 p.m., where the lacrosse team will host the Patuxent Panthers.
Yeah,
So
from
look forward-
Calvert County.
yeah, look forward to that. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second it?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
See you later, Jay.
Bye, Jay.